I want to talk briefly about developing your sense of rhythm and your sense of time and understand how I use these two terms, which are perhaps unique to my vocabulary in the way that I use them. Your sense of time is something that every musician has to be able to rely on his or her internal sense of pulse. When I say time, I mean the ability to set, hold, and return to a basic tempo. In other words, no rushing, no dragging. And if you take a little time remembering inside what the tempo is that you're going to have to return to when indicated, this is a fundamental skill that every musician must endeavor to perfect throughout his or her playing career. It never stops. The goal is to have as close to perfect a sense of time as it's possible to have, to really be able to, no matter what the circumstance or stress situation, to be confident in your own ability to be in tempo, to help solidify those around you who may have some questions about what really is going on at a certain point. You're the rock that brings them in. And it takes years to develop, except in very few cases where people seem to have a natural born talent for internal pulse, which is rare. For most of us, it's a years long process of getting to where we think it needs to be and then constantly continuing to work at it so that we can continue to rely on our internal pulse. And as I've said already in some of my previous videos, the tool that seems to work the best when using your metronome is to have it on the offbeat instead of the primary beat. The reason that this works is it forces your concentration to insert the main beats. And inserting the main beats is one of the main parts of counting. If you play with all the subdivisions on to start, that helps build confidence. And once you have some confidence and you feel like your technique is there, start taking the main beats and the other subdivisions away and leave yourself with just the offbeats. So again, if you're just playing a scale, instead of playing take that main beat away and make sure it's right here inside. That will be a great start. One thing that it will do is it may force you to practice your passages more slowly, and that is a really good thing. Special consideration has to be given to things that are in triplets of some sort. You can do even more with triplets than with duplets, although it becomes increasingly more difficult. If you're one of the people who practices scales in triplets, which a lot of string players in particular are doing, but there are valid reasons, you can, rather than merely etc., you can play with one upbeat, etc., and you can play with two upbeats. Etc., etc. This goes for any passages. Back when I was practicing a lot of Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe, this is a long time ago, and I don't have the right clarinet. It's that sort of passage. You could start with one upbeat. And any number of extra upbeats, and it helps you rethink technically how the passage would go in addition to rhythmically. So the main thing is to set up your metronome use to force yourself to concentrate more on pulse all the time. When you first start doing this, it will be all consuming. It's like when you join one of our ensembles. Many cases, you end up being asked to count and concentrate on the basic pulse more than you've ever been asked before. But in the end, when you become advanced, you can do that on a secondary intellectual level, so that phrasing and intonation and other really important fundamentals are still primary, and the rhythm operates on a mechanical level. But your practice time is really for developing that. I will talk about rhythm briefly, because rhythm, as I define it, is the calculation of the placement of notes within those beats that your sense of pulse has set up. And that is simply subdividing the beat by the smallest value note. And we can talk more about that when we talk about preparing excerpts and other aspects of scales and arpeggios.